Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Mandy and this is my knitting podcast. I've come to talk to you about yarn and crochet, knitting, and all of the other crafty things that I get onto throughout the week. This week I've been working on a ton of different scattered things, so hopefully I remember to mention them all. You can find me on the internet as Mandy Von Knits, both on Ravelry and Instagram. I am 38 years old. I live in southeastern Michigan with my husband and my 2 kids. I have been knitting and crocheting for a good portion of my adult life. I started crocheting after my son was born, and I started knitting after my daughter was born. So that would be about 14 and 9 years respectively. I am a full-time wheelchair user, so I am incompletely paralyzed from my waist down. I love to have a podcast because it allows me to interact with the knitting community, and I get really excited about doing that. So first off, I'm going to talk about admin before I forget, because I actually don't have my list of stuff I'm going to talk about today. So let's start with admin. Every podcast I give away a pattern off of Ravelry. It's your choice. It can be knit or crochet. If you don't use Ravelry and you win, reach out to me and we can work something out. I'm sure I can figure out how to send it to you off of a different platform. What else am I forgetting? A pattern limit is up to $15. And in order to enter, you just have to leave a comment down below. Every podcast, I will use a random comment picker to pick a winner. And then if you win, just reach out to me. You can either direct message, that's what it's called now. Jeez, I almost said instant message. Do you guys remember instant messaging, like from AIM days and stuff? Oh my gosh. Okay, you can either direct message me on Instagram or just message me on Ravelry and let me know the pattern that you want and I will get that out to you. Okay, so I am going to leave a blank spot right here. And that should be where you saw the winner for this week. So if that was you, please reach out to me on either Ravelry or Instagram and let me know the pattern that you want. Okay, so now that the admin stuff is done, I feel like I should talk about finished objects first, because I actually have 2, which is kind of disingenuous because last week I was pretty much done with one of them except for this teeny tiny part. So let's talk about what I'm wearing first. This is the Summer in a Box. This pattern is by Ewelina Murach, and I used Borrego Renew. So it is recycled fiber and it has wool, I believe viscose, some cashmere. I'm putting it down below because I never remember this one, and I know that sounds terrible, but it's got so many different fibers in it, I don't remember. So I put it down below. It says it's made with recycled fibers, which, I mean, I don't know their definition of what recycled fibers are, so I guess you can just take that as kind of whatever they say it is. So I had a lot of fun knitting this. This construction is pretty cool. So the first thing that you do when you start this pattern is you knit a very long like lacy strip. And once the strip is about, your shoulder span, you kind of bind it off and then you start picking up along the bottom. Do you do the front or the bottom first? Or the front or the back? Now I can't remember. Although I really don't suppose it matters much, because in the end what you're doing is you're knitting the back. You do some short rows in the back, and then once you get down past your arms, you do the fronts to where you're past the arms, and you basically have to do both the front and the back till long enough separate until you can join them. So I mean, I don't think it really matters if you do the front or the back first, but what happens is you knit one side and then eventually you can kind of join it together, the front together, and then just knit the front one piece. The lace was very simple, and I really did appreciate that. You have some more lace down at the bottom, kind of at the hem, but even though it was simple, I still used stitch markers just to make sure I didn't mess up. Yeah, because when I mention last week, so when I when I started and kind of transitioned into the ribbing for this, I decided that I wasn't going to use stitch markers because that would be silly, because it's a 4-stitch repeat. And how could I mess up a 4-stitch repeat? And then I knit a couple of rows and messed up the 4-stitch repeat and had to take it out. So after I took it out, I put the stitch markers in every 4 stitches, which is kind of sad, but I did it anyway. And you know what? After they were in, I had absolutely no problem. So, I mean, it is what it is. I enjoyed knitting this. This yarn is very comfy. It really doesn't feel like wool at all. It feels like, I don't know, after I knit it, it kind of reminds me of how like a towel feels. Yeah, have I said that before? Like terry cloth? But I can't, like, I'm trying, you guys know how wool feels, and it definitely has a feeling to it. This feels more like a washed towel, which is a good feeling. It's very soft. I did like working with it, and I would work with this again. I wonder if they have it in a lighter weight yarn, because I would love this like in a fingering weight yarn. This was DK, so it's a little bit, it's not the normal type of, it's not the normal weight of yarn that I normally use. Usually I love to work with a fingering weight yarn, but I've been trying to kind of broaden my horizons just a little bit. So that's why I've been looking at different, more summer type yarn, things that have cotton in it, linen, silk, just kind of, just like I said, broadening my horizons. But this didn't take that long. I did like making it, and I think it came out really cute. I like how it it's kind of boxy like that. That's kind of my favorite. Well, I don't want to say favorite silhouette, because I have like 20 different favorite sweater shapes, but I do like kind of the boxy fit. I also like when I mentioned last week with my painting brick sweater, I do like when the armholes were a little bit lower, but I mean, that's just me. I've heard that some people just aren't a big fan of that. So this was my first finished object, and I'm gonna go ahead and say, like, my only official finished object, because I did finish this next one that I'm going to show you, but I was pretty much done with it last week. And I'll show you the only thing I did this week. So this is my Willow pullover. And let me make sure okay, this is the back because it has short rows. This is my Willow pullover, and this is a test knit. This is from Andrea Gaughan. And now all I need to do is take some finished object photos, which is great because I'm excited that it's done. This yarn is so soft. So I'll talk about the yarn in a second, but let me mention the only thing that I did. This pattern has a folded over collar, and since it's worked bottom up, you basically work like 3 inches of collar and then sew it down. So all I did this week was literally sew down this collar, which is just fine with me because I'm glad that it's done. This yarn is super lightweight. This yarn is Lang Yarns Regina, and it is a whole bunch of cotton. It's silk, a little bit of wool, and something else. So it's right down here because I'm not good at remembering these fiber types, especially if they're new. But this is very lightweight and soft. So I was happy that I made this. So I'm trying to think of the different, okay, so let me see if I can get it without like bringing everything down here. Nope, I'm falling. Things are falling. Okay. If you saw the thing fall out of the bookshelf, I will get it off camera. I am paraplegic, so if I lean forward, I will fall out of the chair. It will be very amusing, but it will also probably hurt a little bit. Okay, so this is the first take I did on this, and this is, I love this color. So I knit this first, and then I knit this one second. So the difference that these two had, besides 2 sizes, is that I moved up a needle size for this. So I gauge swatched, and my gauge swatch said that I should go up a needle size from the pattern, and so I did that. And I looked at the pattern schematics, and I wasn't taking into account how much positive ease was already kind of built into the, not built into the pattern, but you have suggested ease, and then they've got, on the pattern, it has your bust measurements, and then it has like the pattern measurements for that bust. So if you were like a 40-inch bust and the pattern wanted about 8 inches of ease, the actual schematics for the garment would be 48 inches, if that makes any sense. With all of that said, I chose this size based on, I basically overestimated it about like 8 inches. So it is what it is. I need to take out this neck and re-knit it so it's not as bunched up here, and that it fits this. I thought that I could kind of save the sweater for myself by making the neck a little tighter. So I am going to take that out and fix it and make it more appropriate for this size garment, and then I will gift it to either my mom or my sister, depending on who ends up wanting it. Ooh, I'm gonna put it right up there. There we go. And then I guess we'll have kind of matching sweaters, but not really because the colors are different. But I did love working with this yarn. And I would definitely work with it again. It was the first time that I had ever really worked with it. And the yarn came in just these little, I don't know, what do you call these? Cakes? No, cakes to me are the things that you wind with the yarn winder. These are more like, I don't know, yarn donuts? Maybe. They kind of look like donuts. We'll go with that. Yarn donuts. Can you guys tell it's 9 in the morning today? Good grief. Okay, so with all of the finished objects out of the way, I'm going to start talking about a bunch of random things that I worked on this week. And one came completely out of left field. So I have been browsing through Etsy, which is never a good thing, I guess, because I kind of go down rabbit holes. And one of my friends was talking about amigurumis and making them and getting some kits from a yarn store, and it just had me looking at different amigurumi patterns on Etsy. And so I ran across this one. And this one is called Fizi Cat. So let me see if I can kind of show this. And I think it's the cutest thing ever. And so, of course, I just randomly decided that I was going to kind of start it. So I ordered the yarn that, sorry, this is gonna crinkle. I ordered the recommended yarn from the pattern. It's Yarn Art Jeans, and they come in some setup that looks just like this. It is 55% cotton and the rest is acrylic. It is fingering weight, and the crochet hook that you use for this is teeny tiny. That's not even gonna pick up. It is a 2 millimeter. So I have been working on this. So I think I started Friday because that's when the yarn came, and I've been working on this since. So hang on, it's all tied up. So I'm normally not a big fan of amigurumi, mostly because you have these little teeny tiny pieces, and at the end you kind of have to sew everything together. But I really appreciated this pattern because you start, so let me kind of zoom in a little bit. So you started off with these arms. So you made 2 arms, and then you started off making 1 foot, and then, or not 1 foot, 1 leg up to about here. And then you made the other leg, and you changed to this pink color right here. And then you kind of joined them together, and you did all these increases, and you kept crocheting up, and then you kind of attached the arms. So far, so good. We have these cute little feet and the arms, and we even have this little collar here, which I thought was cute. So my daughter saw this and she kept going, "Are you making that for me? Are you making that for me?" And she was so excited about it. And I was trying to make it like a surprise, and she kept going, "Is it going to be a doll?" So long story short, I showed her the picture and she goes, "Oh, but I wanted it to be a girl doll." So if you'll remember right here, this is a cat doll, but it's a cat doll with like a human body, I guess. So all I'm going to do is just change the face and not include the ears or the tail. So I have another 2 different patterns from this designer, and they both have different hairstyles. So I had her pick one, and then I'm just going to kind of modify the head, which is no big deal. I mean, whatever she wants. It doesn't really matter to me. I had just wanted to try to make something out of crochet, what am I trying to say? Something out of a crochet hook that was this tiny. And I do like how the stitches came out. They're a little bit more neat than they would have been if I would have used like a medium, like a worsted weight to make this. So I guess it's just, these are definitely a skill to do, but it has been fun, and I'm excited to make her like her little outfit here, because you can see she's wearing a skirt and she has like a little flower, and the other pattern that I have, a little bow there, and shoes. Hang on, let me show the shoes because they're cute too. So the other pattern that I have has a girl that has cat ears, which I thought was cute, like a little headband. So I might do that. She was very specific. She wanted me to, because the patterns that I have, the girl dolls, they don't have mouths. She's like, "Mom, can you please make a smile?" And I'm like, okay, I'll put a smile in. So it was just something that I thought would be kind of fun outside of doing the sweaters that I have been working on, because I grabbed back out my Kylie pullover, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. But first, let's kind of talk about what happened previously before I put it away. So before I put the Kylie pullover away, I had cast off, I had picked up for the neckline and the ribbing. Well, I guess I worked the bottom ribbing, and the pattern had 2 different options, and one of the options was basically do a couple of purl rows and then a couple of knit rows and just cast it off so it'll roll. And it was basically the same for the neckline. And I did that and decided that I didn't like the roll. And in fact, the roll was kind of really bothering me. I'm not a big fan of whenever my sweaters roll up. And I think it's just because I'm going to be constantly, forever kind of pulling them down. So this week I kind of took out the neckline and I just put some ribbing, like, I don't know, maybe an inch and a half of ribbing there. So I like the way that that looks a lot better. And then at the bottom here, let me see if I can show you. Instead of just doing plain ribbing, I carried down the cables. which I thought looked kind of nice. It's kind of wavy at the bottom from carrying down the cables, but that doesn't bother me. It's not really rolling. It's just kind of the characteristics of the fabric just because the cables are down there. So that is where I am now for that, which means that it's time to work the sleeves. And last night I picked up for the first row of the sleeve, promptly screwed it completely up because I didn't put stitch markers in, and then kind of abandoned it for now. I knew that it was too late to kind of work on it that night. Last night it was getting too late, so I didn't want to make a mess of it, so I decided I'll just fix it today. So that's where I am, and I love this. This yarn is Earth Yarns, and I'm trying to remember what type of yarn, what the yarn is called. It was a yarn that was specifically done for, hang on, let me see if I have one of them. Aha, I do. Here we go. It is Earth Yarns Glimmer by Knit Crate. Okay. So it's called, this color is called Toasty. It's superwash merino, well, 90% superwash merino and 10% stellina. And the yarn weight is actually worsted. So this will be a very toasty sweater whenever it's done, which is ironic, I guess, with the color name. But I do like this kind of beigey pink. I'm trying to think of a better word to call it, but like a warm pink tone, which is interesting because I'm usually a bigger fan of like bright pink. So, but I do like this kind of the glitter stellina in there. It's a very soft, you can't even tell that there's any kind of carry strand in there. I mean, sometimes when there's glitter in there, you can definitely tell, but yeah, it's not even kind of abrasive. So I know that this pattern, and I hope I said that it was the Kylie pullover. If not, I did put the pictures and the stuff up here, so you've definitely seen what the pattern is, even if I haven't mentioned it. But I forgot completely what I was going to say. I'm sorry. Like I said, it's been an already long morning. Oh, the sleeve options. The sleeve options for this, there's short sleeved, and then there's part of the pattern where there's long sleeves, and there's a sleeve that kind of bells out. And I think I want the sleeve that bells out. So I might change my mind as I'm knitting it, and I realize it's kind of a pain to do the lace on 9-inch circular, but I'm kind of pulling for the bell sleeve, so I guess we'll see how it goes. Wow, it feels like I have been all over the place this week with different things that I've been making, but I guess I really haven't. Well, maybe just a little. I think more than anything, the amigurumi that I've been working on for my daughter has kind of thrown me for a loop. So this is the last project that I've been doing. And you guys have seen this one before. This is the Hipster top. And I'm not going to call it the Hipster tee, even though I keep wanting to. And I swear I've called it that like 100 times before. It's the Hipster top. Okay, so this is going to be a pain to show because it's on super teeny tiny needles, but I'm going to make a good effort to anyways. So this is how it looks right now. I have been having a lot of fun with this. Maybe that'll help some, at least to where you can see the stitches up here. So this is Fiber Optics yarn, and I am using 3 different colors. I am using violet, ultraviolet, and electric purple, which is has turned out to be a really good thing. So originally when I went to Fiber Optic Yarns in Ohio, I had picked out just these 2. This would be electric purple and ultraviolet. And you can kind of see the stripes, and that's what I was going for. And then what happened was I lost electric purple. So I placed an order for another electric purple, and I asked for a lighter one, and long story short, the nice employee at the store called up, and we were talking for a little bit, and they suggested, because I had asked what they would suggest to go with the ultraviolet, and they suggested violet, and I believe they were 100% correct. That looks perfect together. So I worked the stripes up to like right here, and then I started using the other colors, and I really do like how this came out and is coming out. So it is my intention, whenever I get down to where the ribbing should go, I am going to try to do some of these again, these stitches, and see what happens, because it might turn out terribly or it might work okay. So I guess we'll just see. I don't know if I can use those in place of ribbing. What do you guys think? Have you done a hipster pattern before? I don't know if they'll lay flat. Maybe. They are surrounded by garter stitch. I feel like it's one of those things that I'm not going to know until I actually try. But I think that it would be nice to kind of have those in one color down at the bottom instead of ribbing. But I guess we'll see. They, so because of how like holy these are, it might not be great to have down at the ribbing. If you were like walking, you might get caught on something. But for me, since I'm a little bit more sedentary because of the wheelchair, I'm less worried about kind of getting stuck on something. So I guess we'll see. One good thing about this hipster top is that once you cast off the bottom, you're done. So everything is kind of contained and finished as you go. So I have some garter stitch at the side for the sleeves, and then you kind of do an I-cord on the side for the V-neck. So there's basically nothing else that has to be done. I do like this purple. It's interesting, right? I don't knit with purple very much, but I love those colors and how bright they are, and how you can kind of see the stripes but not really. I like it. So this is knit with fingering weight, and the base that I'm using is merino nylon cashmere. So it's an MCN base. And that's pretty much it. This pattern did just come out earlier this summer. So whenever I saw it, I think I saw it and it came out, I think it came out while I was on vacation. So I was actually in Ohio when it came out, and then we stopped at Fiber Optic Yarns, which is in Ohio, to pick up yarn to knit it. So that was kind of a happy accident, or a happy coincidence, not an accident. Words are kind of weird this morning, so uh-oh. Don't knock things over. There we go. So that would be like all of the knitting and crochet, and I have been working on crochet, so I'm kind of excited about that. I have mentioned maybe last podcast or the podcast before that I really want to get back into making granny squares. So I'm hopeful that I will be doing that soon, especially after the Kylie pullover and the Hipster tee are done. I am going to be working on the Voyage cardigan, and I will have a lot of extra scraps from that just because it's I'm going to be using an advent. So, and after I'm done with the advent, because it won't take, I'm just using the advent for the color work, so it's not going to take the whole thing. I'm hopeful that I can use the rest to make granny squares and hopefully make enough to be able to kind of piece that whole blanket together. But I guess those are kind of my future knitting plans. So I did find, how many? I think 4 again. 4 patterns. And this one I think is my favorite. And honestly, I'm beginning to forget where I hear these patterns from. Like, did I tell you guys about these patterns, or did somebody tell me about these patterns? But this is the first one that I saw last night. This is called the ZZZ top. So you guys are gonna have to stop me if I've told you about this before. I tend to put a bunch of things in my Ravelry cart, and I saw this one and I thought it was adorable. This is actually crochet. This is why I like this the most. So I probably ran across this as I was looking for things to do with Malabrigo Silpaca. That is a lace weight yarn. So this is crocheted in lace weight yarn. The hook size is 2.75, which I find ironic because that amigurumi is using a 2. So that hook size is still smaller than this lace weight yarn one. But obviously it's because the amigurumi has to be a lot tighter. So this pattern is about $9.11. So here's the kicker, and this is probably why I haven't looked into making this a little bit more, because I really do love the pattern and how it looks. It takes between 2,100 and 2,500 yards of yarn. And the sizes that are available are only small, medium, and large. This is also Tunisian crochet. So if you don't know how to do that, then you're going to have to learn. And I know how to do Tunisian crochet like this much. So I would have to pick up the whole kind of, yeah, I would have to pick up like the whole, because it's Tunisian crochet entrelac stitch, which is really pretty, and it's just so, I love it. So I put up pictures here, and you can kind of see there are little squares like entrelac. It says this pattern assumes basic familiarity with Tunisian crochet, specifically how each row is worked as 2 separate passes and how to work the Tunisian simple stitch. It also is a perfect be your own designer pattern because all of the possible modifications, which can be easily done and without any complicated calculations. The construction allows making this top as wide and as long as you wish on the go. Okay, so it's a top-down raglan. That's pretty neat. And it says that the pattern designer provides an empty grid for sketching, so you can actually figure out how you want your design to be if you don't want to have like the Z's that she does. I guess you would consider those Z's. They look more like V's to me. They still look like V's. Oh well. I've never heard Elena Fedotova. Okay, I am going to stop trying to say her name because I am certain I am getting it wrong. Oh, that's not a Y, that's a V. Okay. Anyways, I put all of her information up. I have never heard of her as a designer before, but her pattern is beautiful. And it looks like she has some more good patterns down there. But when I ran across that, I thought it was good. The only bummer is that it's in lace weight. But crochet lace weight might be something to look into. Oh, okay, so I wonder if this is gonna show up. I thought that silhouette was really pretty. And look, you can also make it with longer sleeves and it looks very nice as well. Right there. Sorry, I try to show just the designer samples just because it's their samples and it's their pattern. So this pattern is called Heart of Glass and it is by Annarella. So this pattern is $8.99 and it's between 33 inches and 67 inch bust. You use between 700 and 1,480 yards. And it uses fingering weight yarn. So I don't know if you can see, but the hem on this, I'm trying to think of the right word. Top? Yeah, the hem on this top is so pretty. I mean, honestly, that makes the whole top. And since I was thinking about knitting with silk, I thought that this would be the perfect design to use for silk yarn. Just because it's so summery. And ironically enough, the yarn that's used in the sample is 100% silk and fingering weight yarn. It is called Dance Rustic Silk by Dragonfly Fibers. I don't think I've ever used Dragonfly Fibers yarn before, so I can't speak to the exact yarn that she's used, but I really do like the long sleeved one though, right there. Do you guys ever find something on Ravelry and realize that your queue is getting so long that you might have to live till you're like 400 to be able to knit everything? Right. So this one I've actually made before. This is called Fickle Hearts by Justyna Lorkowska. And I love this. I actually love everything about this pattern except one thing, and we'll get to that in a second. So this is a cabled hoodie. Yeah, you can see it better there. So I love this pattern and I love cables, and I made this when I was about, well, let's see, I started that pattern when I was about 3 years into learning how to knit and promptly gave it up. Well, I didn't give it up. I put it in a bag and just put it away because it was too difficult and complicated. Then I brought it out a year later and managed to finish it. I used Cascade 220 Superwash. No, not Superwash. I used Cascade 220. So the thing that frustrates me about this pattern is that I love every single thing about it, but it's in worsted weight yarn, which is not bad, but I would really love this pattern if it was in fingering weight yarn, because it's so easy to find worsted weight cable patterns and more difficult to find fingering weight cabled patterns, especially if you're looking for a hoodie like this. Especially if you're looking for a hoodie that's that cabled like this. It's more difficult to find one if it's fingering weight, because I mean, that's a lot of knitting. So I knit this and didn't really wear it because it was so heavy, and eventually ended up giving it away, which is pretty sad. So the sizes for this are between extra small and extra large. And it was a lot of fun to make. The construction at the time while I was making it was something that I had never done before, which was why I think I had gotten caught up on it before. But I'm pretty sure that I'd be okay to do it now. It only goes up to 2XL though, so while I might be able to use that size and use fingering weight, I'm just not sure. I'd have to kind of do calculations on that to see. But if you're looking for something that's kind of heavier weight yarn, I would recommend this one, especially if you're looking for kind of a challenge and you love doing cables, because there are a whole bunch of different charts you're using all at once, and it's definitely kind of brain food, brain candy almost, because it really does require a lot of thinking, kind of piecing things together, but it's a lot of fun. And this is the last one I'm going to talk about. And this is the one I'm not sure if I mentioned before. So this is Oleander. It is $9.11. And I know that I ran across this a couple of weeks ago. and it is just a lace sweater. Which means that I would probably need about 1,000,000 stitch markers for it. So it's knit in sport weight, and it actually needs quite a bit of yarn. So 1,422 to 2,734 yards, which is quite a lot. And it's 37 1/4 to 73 1/2 inch circumference, which is a really good span for size inclusivity. But the pattern designer's name is Audrey Borrego. So I don't know that I've done anything by her before, but it just seemed like a pretty sweater. I've been looking more and more seriously at doing lace. So I think that that would be kind of interesting to look at. But first things first, I need to finish the Hipster and the Kylie pullover so that I can do my voyage. Because wow. So the other day, actually it wasn't the other day, it was last night, I saw on Instagram that the Joji Locatelli make-along sign-ups start August 10th. Which seems way too fast for me because I can't believe that this summer is going to be over. But if you aren't familiar, she does a make-along every year from September to November. And I've done it for, I believe, the last 2 years. And somebody asked me what patterns I was going to do for it, and I have no clue. Not even kind of a clue what patterns I want to do for her make-along this year. So I really need to look at it. Last year I had wanted to do, I don't remember the name. It's very pretty. It's lacy. And I'm going to put up a picture here because I don't remember what it's called. But I actually have yarn to do it and everything. So I might just do that one. But probably not, because I never just do one. I always sign up for more than what I'm expecting to knit, just because in case I decide I want to do something different or swap a project out. But if you're interested in doing a Joji Locatelli pattern, I definitely suggest signing up. It's a make-along to where you actually fill out a form with the project that you want to work on, and then you get a project number, and you actually have to fill out the form before to actually be included in the prizes. So it's worth mentioning, because for some of the make-alongs you don't really have to do like any form filling, but for this one you do. So okay, that's pretty much it for this week. Seems like I've been talking and rambling on way too long, so we are getting ready to go take our kids for a little staycation with my in-laws. They're going to be coming up in a couple of weeks, so we're excited about that. But with all of that to say, that's the end of the knitting and crochet. So if you're just here for that, thank you so much for stopping by. If you could, please give this video a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button. Please don't forget, if you're interested in entering for the pattern giveaway, please leave a comment down below so I can, so whenever I draw for next week, you'll be included. And thank you so much for stopping by. If you're sticking around, I'm going to talk about my life for probably 5 minutes, because that's all that I've got. It has been We've been trying to get things kind of situated for my in-laws to come. Work has been going great. And I've just been enjoying summer and summer knitting and all of the fun things that are kind of involved with that. We bought a new bird feeder to sit outside the window, and this one is kind of squirrel proof. So I guess we'll see if it really is squirrel proof or if it's just kind of a marketing gimmick, because squirrels, we actually filled up our bird feeder last week and squirrels ate all of it. And I didn't see a single bird because squirrels were just constantly in it. So we're like, okay, I don't mind feeding the squirrels, but like, I want to see some birds too. So it is what it is. Squirrels are hungry too, so. But my kids are my daughter's excited to start school, my son not so much. That's the difference between 8th grade and 4th grade, right? So, yeah. They actually start at the end of August, which seems way too fast. We've got to get like school supplies and school clothes and everything. So I'm not ready for it. And I'm especially not ready for my son to be in 8th grade, because that means next year he'll be going into high school, which is a whole nother story. I can't believe it. I remember when he was like this small, and now he's gonna be in high school in a couple of years. So anyways, before I start rambling on and on, that's it. That's all I have to talk about this week. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. If you could, please give this video a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button. And don't forget, like I said 5 minutes ago, and I'm sure you haven't forgotten, but I'm going to repeat it anyway. Don't forget to leave a comment down below so you can be entered into next week's pattern giveaway. And if I drew your name, because I have no clue whose name I draw until later in the day when I'm actually editing, if I drew your name, please reach out on either Ravelry or Instagram as Mandy Von Knits and let me know what pattern that you want. Okay, awesome guys. Thank you so much. Bye.